So today we have Lynn Smith, who's a training consultant with LexisNexis. She has a law degree and master's degree in library studies, and she has worked for LexisNexis for over 20 years and conducted a lot of training webinars for students. So we're really happy to have her today. And she's going to be presenting on case law. She'll cover basic and advanced searching tips in Nexis Uni and 3 different ways to search for case law. So go ahead and take it away, Lynn.
Thank you so very much, Julia. Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Smith, and I'm the individual, as Julia indicated, that will be conducting this training session. And today, what I'm going to be talking about are the different ways to search case law on Nexis Uni. As was indicated in my bio, yes, I have a master's in information library studies from the University of Michigan, and also have a JD. I like to say that when it comes to my occupation, I have multiple personalities. I'm a librarian, I'm a law librarian, I'm an attorney, I'm a lawyer, but my primary job is to go out and do training and consulting work for LexisNexis, primarily in the academic market. And I always enjoy doing webinars for students because it gives me a wonderful opportunity to interact with students, address your questions and your concerns. As I am going along, if you have a question and a concern, just put it into the chat. And someone is monitoring the chat, so I will be stopping after I make, some points and, seeing if there are any questions or concerns. So I just want you to be aware that I like to say this training session is for you. So if I say something or you need some clarification, just put a little note in the chat and I will make sure that I address it. Now, we're going to start first with the default page, the home page, and we're going to start with this main search box. And I like to tell people all the time, this main search box is powerful. It is powerful because you can perform a number of different tasks using this main search box. So we're going to start off very slowly, doing some very, very easy stuff, and then we're going to progress, okay? So when it comes to doing legal research, I tell people there are 2 things that you can do that are, very simple, very easy. The first one is going out and retrieving a legal document if you have a citation. So we're going to go out and I'm going to go and retrieve a case with 2 cases using a legal citation. So I'm going to type in the citation. And for those of you that are not familiar with a legal citation for a case, a legal citation for a case consists of 3 parts, and you need all 3 parts. The first part, which is a number, that represents the volume. The middle part is the blue book abbreviation for the book. And in the legal world, we call that book a reporter. Cases, decisions, opinion, interchangeable terminology. They are published in a reporter. That's what we call that book in the legal world, a reporter. And the third and final part, which is also a number, is the page. So right now, I'm saying I want volume 410 of the US reports and open up to page 113. Well, what's great about the system is I do not have to type in proper Blue Book citation. So many of you may be at the start of your collegiate career in legal studies. And so you may not be that comfortable using proper Blue Book citation. It's okay. If you notice, I ran everything together. There are no spaces. There's no punctuation. That U, that S, they're no longer in uppercase. Trust me, this is the farthest from proper Blue Book as you can get. So I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to click on my search. And the system's going to take us right here to the full text of this case, this decision, even though I did not use proper Blue Book citation. So if you're not comfortable using proper Blue Book citation, not a big deal, not necessary. I'm going to go back to my default page. I'm simply going to click on this Nexis Uni, and now I'm going to go get a case, a decision from the state of Ohio. And once again, I'm going to type the volume 661, but this time I'm going to use a regional reporter, and I'm going to explain. Now, I'm saying find volume 661 of the Northeastern Reporter second series and page 1030. Now, a lot of times people do not realize how important this 2D, or you may see a 3D, is. That is very important because that's telling us which series we need. Long story short, I told you all that we publish cases, decisions, opinions in a book, and we call that book a reporter. What we do is we number the volumes 1 through 999. When we get to 999, we start out all over with a new number 1, but that new number 1 will represent a new series. So if you see that NE, just plain NE, that's referring to the first series, before we even knew there was going to be a second series or third series. 2D is letting you know I need volume 661 of the Northeastern Reporter second series. 3D, I need volume 661 of the Northeastern Reporter third series. Most reporters are into the second and the third series, but when we get to that volume 999 of that third series, and it's time for us to start all over with a new volume, we're going to go to the fourth series. So just kind of wanted to explain the significance of that 2D and that 3D. Once again, I'm going to click on my search. And this is going to take us to a case, a decision from the Supreme Court of Ohio. But Ohio is one of those few states where you still publish your own reporter. So your decisions are found not only in your own reporter, they are also found in this regional reporter. So just want to point out the name, the proper short name of this case, because we're going to see this again in a few seconds. So I'm typing in this citation. This is letting us know we need that third series. Run this search. And we just saw this same case a few seconds ago. My point is a couple of different points. Number one, you can type in proper Blue Book citation, but it's not necessary. Certain jurisdictions, like the state of Ohio, where you still have your own official reporter, but your cases are also found in a regional reporter, it really does not matter which citation you use, the system will recognize both. Okay, so going out and getting a case, a decision by citation, we try to give you a lot of flexibility. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and retrieve a case, a decision, an opinion when I know the name. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start typing Roe because I'm thinking of the case of Roe v. Wade. Now, as I'm typing, the system is trying to be helpful. It's trying to assist you as the researcher, and it's saying, okay, Lynn, you've typing Roe. Here are some suggestions. Here are some documents, legal documents, that first one being that Roe v. Wade. So if I simply click on that Roe v. Wade, it's going to paste it into the search box. But more importantly, it's going to go out and it's going to retrieve this case, this decision for us. I'm going to take this moment and I want to point out some great features that you're going to see on your cases that are going to be very beneficial to you as a researcher. The first thing I want to point out, and this is not unique to cases, you're going to see this on all of your documents. Up at the top, this box that reads Export Citation. This is one of our citation management tools. assisting you with citing. If I click on this box, export citation, we ask the question of, what is your selected citation format? I'm going to sit here and say, in my pull down, I've got my APA, Blue Book. As I said, Blue Book is how we cite in the legal world. Chicago and MLA. Select the appropriate citation format. You may highlight, copy and paste, or copy to a clipboard. So just want you to be aware of that citation management tool. Also on your cases, you're going to see a nice case summary. And that case summary is just that, a summary of the case. Procedural history, an overview of the legal facts and the legal issues and the outcome. What was the court's decision? What was the court's holding? Now, in the legal research and writing process, you should, if you're not doing it, I highly recommend that you do it. You should do what we like to call briefing a case. And basically, when we talk about briefing a case, what we're doing is basically creating an outline for a case. And the reason why we do that, as I like to explain, is that we really do not have time to keep going back and rereading cases over and over. So we brief that case, we brief that decision. And the traditional briefing is on the lines of IRAC. You know, where you're giving, well, we give some facts, we give the issue, the I within IRAC, R, the rule of law, A, the analysis, C, the conclusion. So we do that outline, like I said, because basically we do not have time to keep going back and rereading cases over and over. So we brief them, we create that outline. The reason I'm mentioning this and bringing this up is because this case summary will assist you with that briefing of the case, because it is giving you the procedural history, but more importantly, an overview of the legal facts and the legal issues and the outcome, the court's decision. Also on your cases, you're going to see head notes. And in the legal world, we love head notes for two primary reasons. Number one, 90% of the time, a case, a decision, an opinion is dealing with more than one legal topic, more than one legal issue. And the head notes will allow you to quickly and easily to identify the different legal topics, the different legal issues that are being addressed in this particular case. Now, one of the things you have to understand is that head notes are an enhancement. They're not part of the court's actual decision, actual opinion. And in the legal world, we can only cite to the court's actual decision, actual opinion. So you can use the head notes. So let's say that you like head note number 6, HN6. Click on this downward arrow, and that will quickly and easily take you to the court's actual opinion, decision where that particular legal topic is being addressed. And yes, now you can cite because this is the court's actual decision. And we can use the up arrows to take us back. So that's how you toddle back and forth between those head notes and the actual court's opinion. So once again, we've got that wonderful case summary, but we also have those head notes. And like I said, we love head notes for two primary reasons. Number one, to identify the different legal topics, the different legal issues, but more importantly, to quickly and easily get to that legal topic, legal issue, and the actual opinion. I'm going to go back to my default page, my home page, simply click on my Nexis Uni. And once again, I'm going to type in Plessy, because I'm thinking of that case of Plessy v. Ferguson. Select Plessy v. Ferguson, and the system would take me right there to the full text of this case, this decision. And once again, we have that export citation. We have the case summary. We have the head notes. Another great thing about doing legal research online is Cases will cite to other cases. They will cite to statutes. As you're reading, if you want to link to any of these related documents, they're hypertext links. Click on that hypertext link, and it would take you to that related legal document, legal information. So those are two of the easiest things to do when it comes to doing legal research. Typing in that citation, not necessary to use proper Blue Book. System's very flexible. And if you know the name, start typing the name and the system will assist you. And we're going to go a little bit more in details about that a little later, but let me stop because I've been doing a lot of talking. And I just want to check in and see if there are any questions or concerns in the chat. Anything so far, Brian?
Thank you, Lynn. I don't see any questions yet, but I'll give them a moment to type a question in if they have one.
Okay. As I said, as I'm going along, if you need some, if you think of a question or something, please put it into the chat because we want to make sure we address questions and concerns.
I think we're all set. I don't see any in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Oh, we got one in the chat.
Oh, so this one I could probably answer. It's
Okay.
our question is, how do you log into Nexis Uni? And we'll post a link on the library page or in the chat to our library page, and we have a shortcut to Nexis Uni right underneath the gateway search box. And if you log in from our library site, all it'll ask you for is your EGCC login information. You'll enter that and it should take you right into our subscription. If you happen to log in, if you happen to find Nexis Uni through a Google search, it's going to ask for a different login. And it looks like Julia's posted the FAQ for that. So I think we're all set for that question.
Perfect. Okay. So now we're going to go back to this main search box. Like I said, this main search box is powerful. It is powerful because, as you see, you can perform a number of different tasks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to find cases where I know that I'm typing in my search terms. I've got a topic. So I want to find some cases that deal with capital punishment. Well, I'm going to do capital punishment. And first thing I want you to be aware of is that if you're looking for an exact phrase, you need to put that exact phrase in quotation marks. Now, it's also very critical to also think of synonyms, alternative legal terminology. For example, if you were doing research on free speech, which I'm going to use a little bit later, we know we're not only going to type in free speech, we're also going to type in freedom of speech. Please forgive me. We're also going to type in freedom of speech because they're interchangeable terminology. So not every case is going to probably use capital punishment. We've got some other legal terminology that is the equivalent, that means the same thing. Death sentence, death penalty, death row. So depending on what you're doing research on, sometimes you need to take a moment and think of what other search term can I put in that means the exact same thing. Like I said, free speech, freedom of speech, capital punishment, or death row, or death sentence, or death penalty. And once again, I'm putting each phrase in quotation marks because I want to find that exact phrase. I'm using my or connector because I want to say one or the other. Look for that capital punishment, or death row, or death sentence, or death penalty. Saying one of those, or 2 out of the 4, or 3 out of the 4, or all 4, but one of them must be in the document. And I can spell that and connector out, or I can use the ampersand, flexibility, constitution. So I want to find cases that mentions, like I said, one or the other and constitution. At this time, my date default, I'm going to take it to all available dates. but we provide you with some different date ranges, and you can create your own date range, but I'm going to do all available dates. Just so you know, the default for searching is all content. And even though the series that we're doing is going to focus in on legal, I want you to be aware that on this product, you're going to have access to over 16,000 different sources, legal information, news information, company and financial information. This is a general database. We've got information not just from the US, but from around the world. So I'm going to click on this all content type, and I'm going to specify, just look for legal. And then I can specify just cases. And we've got cases not just from the US, but other countries. When we talk about legislation statutes, we got a series of 4. So right now I'm just going to say US. And at this time, if I wanted to, I could specify specific states. So if I wanted to, I can say, okay, you know what? I want to search just Ohio in conjunction with Oregon. And then this way, I would only be searching those 2 states. Or maybe I also wanted to include the 9th Circuit, because Oregon is part of the 9th Circuit. But what I'm going to do right now is I am going to search all case law, case law in the United States, regardless of the state. So you can be very broad or you can be very specific. Right now, I'm going to be very broad because I want to point something out to you all. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a search. Now, one of the things I want you to be aware of is that there are no document retrieval limitations on this product, meaning if you conduct a search and that search brings back 10,805 documents, yes, you may view all 10,705 documents. So just be aware that there are no document retrieval limitations on this product. I also want you to be aware that when you get your search results back and they're sorted by relevance, giving you the most relevant documents first. But what you can always do is change the sorting. So if I wanted to, I can sort by court, I can sort by date. But what I want to talk about right now is look over to the left. And what I want to point out are what we like to refer to as our post-search filtering options. Because right now we're searching all US case law. And we're saying go out there and find any document that mentions capital punishment or death row or death sentence or death penalty and constitution. Well, we can use these post-search filtering options to filter down, to narrow down our search results. So I'm going to click on court. And this is giving us a breakdown. So it's giving us every federal circuit and the number of documents. If I went to the states, it will give me every state and our territories and how many we retrieve from each state and territory. So if I wanted to see just those cases from Ohio, I simply click on Ohio. And this would go out and get just those documents from Ohio. But what if I wanted to see, once again, Ohio in conjunction with Oregon? I can select one option or I can select multiple options. And this time I'm going to do that. Ohio and Oregon. Click on my OK. So this way, I'm only getting those cases from those 2 states. So I want you to be aware you have these wonderful post-search filtering options. The post-search filtering options will allow you to filter down, narrow down your search results, especially if you start very broadly. At this time, I'm going to go into a document, and I just want to point out your delivery options. You may send information to a cloud. you may print, you may email, you may download, but I'm going to go to my results list. And once again, you can send information to a cloud, you may print, you may email, you may download, but I want to talk about this icon of the 3 books. It's currently grayed out. If I click on it, it doesn't do anything at all. But I'm going to select a document. As soon as I select a document, it is now active. This is your second citation management tool. So number 1, we give you the capability to export bibliographical information, bibliographical references to a third-party citation tool, examples, EndNotes, CitePro, RefWorks, etc. Meaning you're not limited just to these 4. We're just trying to give you examples of what we mean by a third-party citation management tool. So you're not limited. They work with pretty much all of the different citation management tools. And then, of course, we have our common citation formats, which once again would be your APA, Blue Book, Chicago, and MLA. So I just want you to be aware that the book is your second citation management tool. Let me just stop because I see something was added to the chat. So I don't know if that is a new comment or respond to our previous discussion from the chat. So I just want to check in.
Lynn, that was just a comment I was sharing. Our Nexus Uni LibGuide, we have an explanation for all the connectors that you used. But I did have a question about downloading a case. We get questions in the library from students who ask to download cases from a specific reporter. Could you demonstrate how they would choose the reporter and download just the file for that? Very
good question. Now, reporters, okay, so we're gonna skip ahead, which is perfect, Brian. Okay. And we're gonna go to this Get Doc Assistance, okay? And the Get Doc Assistance, we're gonna talk about a little bit later, but I'm gonna bring it up now, which is perfectly fine. The Get Doc Assistance, I really wish it would read Get a Legal Doc Assistance, because we assist you with getting a legal document by citation, cases by party name, and cases by docket number. Now, where it says, we're going to use this by citation, and it says, select a content type, and we're going to select cases. Now, Brian and everybody else, this is where things get a little complicated. So please bear with me. So right now we have an alphabetical alphabetical listing of all the different reporters, the publications that publish decisions. Now I'm going to select a jurisdiction. And right now I'm going to select U.S. federal. And this will give us all the reporters that provide federal cases. But we're going to more importantly take a look at U.S. Now, U.S. Supreme Court decisions are found in 3 different reporters, 3 different publications. The official one is the United States Reports. That is the official one. It is the official one because it is published by the U.S. government. The United States Supreme Court decisions can also be found in the Supreme Court Reporter. A lot of people think that the Supreme Court Reporter is the official publication. It is not the official publication. I just told you that the U.S. Reports is the official publication. The Supreme Court Reporter is published by West. And then we also have Lawyer's Edition. Lawyer's Edition also publishes U.S. Supreme Court decision. And once again, it's not an official publication. It's an unofficial publication because it is published by LexisNexis. Now, let's take your wonderful state of Ohio. So I'm going to clear. And this is why I did that example earlier, where we found the same case in your Ohio reporter and also in the Northeastern reporter. So right now, I'm going to select Ohio. And now I have the different reporters for Ohio. And we know that your Supreme Court decisions are found in this Ohio state reports. But we got that same decision in the Northeastern Reporter. The Northeastern Reporter is not listed because the regional reporters are not state specific, meaning Ohio is not the only state in the Northeastern Reporter. Illinois state cases are also published in the Northeastern Reporter. So this is where things get tricky. I live in Missouri. Missouri, if I select Missouri.
Lynn, we do have one question.
Sure. Can I finish
wondering...
this and then I'll answer that if you do not mind?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing I need for you to understand is that Missouri comes up, but guess what? Missouri, the Missouri reports, we no longer publish. The state of Missouri stopped publishing its own reporter in 1948. Missouri cases can only be found in the Southwestern Reporter. So to get to those regional reporters, which are critical in the United States, because some states like Ohio, you still have your own reporter. There are states like Missouri where we don't have our own reporter. They can only be found in a regional reporter. So to get to the regional reporters, in terms of if you have a citation, you have to click on this non-jurisdictional content. So depending on the state, some states still publish their own reporters, some do not, Missouri being one. So the only way I can find any state case from the state of Missouri, if I have a citation, and I'm not sure of the proper way to put in the citation, is to find that regional reporter, which is that Southwest reporter, because Missouri no longer has its own reporter. So this is where it's important when you take your legal research and writing class, you would become familiar with what reporters are available for your jurisdiction. But one of the things we all learn are all of the different regional reporters, because it varies by state if they still have their own reporter or if you must go to the regional reporter. I did not mean to stop you, but I just wanted to make sure I got that point. And now go back to your question.
Yes, that was great. I think someone was just wanting kind of repetition on how reporters are documented, and that may have been back with the federal ones, but just repeating how reporters are documented.
Okay, first reporters are okay. We've got in our legal system, we've got a federal court system and we have a state court system, which you're going to see in one of my examples. Our federal court system, of course, there are 13 circuits. We got the Federal Court of Appeals, we got the district courts. And then on the state level, you've got your state structure. Okay, so let's just take Ohio. Okay, all Federal Court of Appeals, and this goes back to legal research. This is something you're going to learn in legal research. All federal, and that's why it's important. I always tell students it's important to know the reporters, to know the different publications. So our Federal Court of Appeals decisions were found in the Federal Reporter. So let me just go back to US Federal. So Federal Court of Appeals decisions were found in the Federal Reporter. This is something that you're going to learn in legal research. So we've got our federal reporters. That's where you find Federal Court of Appeals. Your district court, which is the trial court for the federal level, those decisions are found in the federal supplement. And then you got the state level. Got your Ohio Supreme Court, your Ohio Court of Appeals. Those are going to be found in your different Ohio reporters, but also in your regional reporter, which is that Northeastern Reporter. This is something that you learn when you learn book research. I always tell people, you got to understand book research to get a true understanding of online research, because as I said, Missouri, we no longer have our own reporter. So if somebody's looking for that Missouri reports, I'm sorry, if somebody goes to Missouri and they're looking for that Southwestern reporter, it doesn't exist underneath Missouri because Missouri is not the only state that the Southwestern reporter, the only state within the Southwestern reporter. There are other states, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas. So does that answer that question? We got different reporters for different jurisdictions. We've got those that represent the federal court system and those that represent your state court system. Does that answer that question? Yes, no, maybe?
I'm watching chat to see if she responded.
I'm going to continue because
okay. So 13 federal and how many states is one of the
50 states,
stats.
just like, we got 50 states in the United States, so, or 50 states.
And then what is the federal supplement second and third series?
Remember, I talked about that. So I will go back over that. Remember, we have different series within a reporter. So remember when I did my example, let's go back.
Yeah, and I think this person joined late, so they may have missed this little part.
Okay, so yeah, no problem. So as I said, when we were doing our example for the Northeastern reporter, that you may just see NE, which represents the first series, 2D, which represents the third series, 3D, which represents the second series, and 3D, which represents the third series. Once again, that first number represents the volume. What we do when we publish decisions is we publish them in a book and we call that book a reporter. We number the volumes 1 through 999. When we get to 999, we start all over with a new number 1, but that new number 1 will represent a new series. So FYI, there's a volume 661 of the Northeastern Reporter. Before we knew there was going to be a second series or a third series. There is a volume 661 of the Northeastern Reporter second series, and there's a volume 661 of the Northeastern Reporter third series. Most reporters are into the second and the third series, meaning when we get to volume 999 of the third series, we're going to start all over with a new number 1, but that new number 1 will represent the fourth series. So there are different series within that reporter because of the volume of cases being published. So hopefully that addresses that question. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Anything else? Because I'm noticing the time and we got a few more things we need to talk about. All right. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the guided search. And with the guided search, we try to provide, and I'm going to go back to that Get Doc Assistance. Since I'm here, I'm just going to go ahead and take care of this. We ask the question, what are you interested in? I'm going to select cases. And as you see, my options have changed. But more importantly, we ask that follow-up question, which jurisdiction? Because remember, I just said, we got a federal court system and we have a state court system. And you got to remember, there are certain subjects that the federal government is not going to get into. The federal government's not going to get into marriage, or we don't want them into marriage. So, there's certain things that are state issues, and then there's certain things that are just going to be federal issue. So we ask that follow-up question because a lot of times people do not always understand, or they may not be aware that we have these two different court systems. So I can do federal or I can do state. I'm going to do state, but more importantly, I can do Ohio. I'm going to select Ohio. And right now, I'm going to do my free speech or freedom of speech, because like I said, interchangeable terminology. When we talk about free speech, we also know somebody can use freedom of speech. And I can spell that word and out, or the ampersand. My Bill of Rights. And we all know the Bill of Rights are the what? The first 10 amendments of that US Constitution. If I wanted to, I can do a date restriction, just like up here, but I'm not, because I want you to be aware of something. What I want you to be aware of is that the coverage of this database, it varies. It varies by source. But I want you to be aware that legal, especially case law, is the oldest part of this database. Basically, what that means is it's not unusual to get cases all the way back to the 1600s, back to the 1700s. However, it will vary state by state, court by court. So remember I said when you get your search results back, they're going to be sorted by relevance, but you can always change that. So I'm going to say date, newest to oldest. So you will see that the oldest case that the system retrieved is from 1885. So what I'm going to use right now, using my post-search filtering options, is my timeline. And here it's letting me know the oldest case you retrieved is from 1885, which we saw when we changed the sorting from relevance to date, oldest to newest. But the most current, the most recent is from 2022. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go to my court, because this is going to give us a breakdown of all the different courts. So if I only want to see those cases from your Supreme Court, I'm going to select Supreme Court. But more importantly, you see that my timeline has changed. It's saying, okay, most current, most recent is from 1902. So the timeline is nice because it's going to be reflective of your search results and any filtering you've done of your search results. But more importantly, I can also use the timeline to create a date range. So I don't have to do the date range on my initial search. I can do it here. So maybe you say, you know what? I'm going to drag this over to where I see this nice peak. And I don't want to start on January 1st. I want to start on, let's say, March 1st of 1991. So you can use the timeline as a way to be reflective of your search results so you can quickly see the coverage, but you can also use the timeline to create a date range while you are on, while after you've done your search. I see there's some things in the chat, so let me just check in.
Lynn, I think these were questions from earlier.
Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, all right. So now we're going to go back sort of kind of to that Get Doc Assistance. But before I do that, I told you that if you know the name of the case, you can start typing the name and the system will assist you. It's doing what we like to call preemptive language. So if I'm looking up for that case of Brown versus the Board of Education, I see that. But there are some cases where we've given that case kind of a special name. It's not what we would call the proper short name. And one of those examples is the Dred Scott case. And many of you have probably heard of the Dred Scott case, but the Dred Scott case is not its proper name. When you go to cite it, we cannot cite it as the Dred Scott case. That's not proper Blue Book. So, but if you started typing in that Dred Scott, nothing comes up. So we're going to go back to this Get Doc Assistance. And we're going to take a look at, we've already kind of taken a look at the Get Doc Assistance by citation, but we're going to revisit it. We're going to go in a little bit more into details, but I'm going to do first cases by party name. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with Dred Scott, the Dred Scott case, which was a landmark case, basically Dred Scott was a slave. His master took him from a slave state to a free state, back to a slave state. And he decided to sue for his freedom. He felt like he was free because his master took him from a slave state to a free state. Well, the United States Supreme Court said, no, Dred Scott, you're still a slave. But more importantly, this Dred Scott case said that anybody of African descent could not be a US citizen, whether the person was a slave or free. If they were of African descent, they were not a US citizen, and therefore they were not entitled to any of the rights and the privileges that come with within the United States Constitution, those rights that we have as US citizens. Now, something that we're going to talk about next Friday, if I'm correct, a wonderful thing called shepherds. Basically, we're going to talk about shepherds, and what shepherds is what we use to check the validity of a case, of a decision. But long story short, after the Civil War, we got what we like to call the Reconstruction Amendments, the 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, which created a problem. The problem was now you have all these freely new people of color. And we had a United States Supreme Court decision that said, whether you're free or a slave, you can never be a citizen, which of course led to the 14th Amendment, which granted citizenship to all the freely new slaves, because we had a landmark decision that said they could not be US citizens. So FYI, if you ever find yourself in St. Louis, please go to the old courthouse, because that case originated in St. Louis, Missouri. And there's a wonderful museum dedicated to the Dred Scott case. So I'm typing in my Dred Scott. I can search all jurisdictions, but what I'm going to select is United States Supreme Court. I'm going to run this search. What's going on? Let me do Dred Scott. Oh, Scott's not spelled correctly. I did that on purpose. Spelling counts. You misspell something, it's going to look for that misspelling. So it's taken us right here to this case. Like I said, even though 99.999% of the time, when we talk about this case, this decision, we refer to it as the Dred Scott case. But when we go to cite, we've got to cite this Scott versus Sanford. That's the proper name, the proper short name of this case. If we go to Blue Book, you see that. So I just kind of want to point that out. Back. So just depending on those cases, like I said, now we're going to go back to this Get Doc Assistance. And we're going to use this citation. We're getting assistance by citation. And once again, we can do cases. And this would give us a breakdown of all the different reporters and their proper Blue Book abbreviations. But once again, for those regional reporters, because every state is found in a regional reporter, but not every state publishes its own reporter. Many have stopped. So if I want those non-jurisdictional ones, those regional reporters, so we had that citation to an Ohio case, but it's in a Northeastern reporter. But more importantly, that second series. So if I do my 661, 1030, Get Doc. There's that State versus Brooks. But if you have the official one, and this is very nice, like I said, if you're not familiar with the proper Blue Book citation, you need that help, you need that assistance. Your state still publishes its own reporter. And what that means is that when you go to cite this case, even if you have that Northeastern reporter, you have to cite the Ohio, because your state still publishes its own reporter. Therefore, it is the official reporter. But you're into your third series of that. So we saw this before when we went out and retrieved that case, that decision using that Northeastern reporter. Let me just check in. I noticed that the numbers went up, so I just want to see question, concern.
Yeah, Lynn, we have a question. A
Sure.
student's asking what the little signals are next to the case names and
Excellent question. That is referring to shepherds. And we would talk about shepherds. We're going to do a whole webinar on shepherds. Basically, those symbols are trying to give you an indication of what type of treatment has been attached to that case. So if you see a red stop sign, that means stop. Serious negative treatment, you better shepherdize. Yellow, some negative treatment. However, you always have a duty to shepherdize. Shepherds is a critical part of the legal research and writing process. And like I said, I believe it's next Friday that we're going to be talking about shepherds, because in the legal world, we can only cite to good precedent, meaning good law. You're not allowed to cite to bad precedent. And as I tell people all the time, in the legal world, it's not about old and new, it's about good and bad. Meaning you can have a case from 1699 that is still good law, but a case from 2019 that is bad law. Meaning it is perfectly okay to cite that case from 1699 because it's still good law, but not okay to cite that case from 2019. So those symbols are trying to give you some type of indication of what type of treatment has been attached to that case. Because like I said, in the legal world, we can only cite to good precedent. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thanks, Lynn. And Julia posted a link to the workshop where you'll be covering that.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else in that one?
I think that'll cover it.
Okay. So I just want to point out one more thing that I want you all to always be aware of, and that is this nice little question mark or circle with a question mark. This is one of our help features. And one of the things I want you to be aware of is that we have some wonderful training videos. Your school is doing an excellent thing by providing you this series of webinars on legal research. But I just want you to be aware that training is always ongoing. So if you want to get a view of our upcoming training events, you can do that. But I just want to make sure, more importantly, you're aware that we have some wonderful videos. If you click on this, we provide some overall. So just some nice quick training videos. At this time, it's like 5 till the end of the hour. So I just want to see if there's anything that I said that needs some clarification, that needs some additional explanation. Hopefully you found that you got a number of different ways to go out and search. You can search, of course, if you have the citation, if you know the name, but more importantly, if you got the subject, you can start very broad if you want to, and we got our post-search filtering options, or you can specify at the beginning, I just want my, Ohio cases. But more importantly, we also got the guided search. So those are just a number of different ways that you can search case law. So hopefully this gives you some insight that you did not have before.
Thanks, Lynn. I'm going to invite the students that are still with us. If they have a question, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask.
Yeah, please do.
This has been an excellent session, by the way. I've learned a
thank
lot
you.
myself.
Okay. So take yourself off mute and just ask if you have a question. No pressure, but we want to address any questions.
I went ahead and posted links to our other upcoming sessions. Oh, don't worry. We will not forget to email everyone.
Okay. All right. Well, I really thank you also very much for taking time out of your busy day. I'm always appreciative when anyone takes time out of their busy day to join one of my webinars. But more importantly, I really want to thank Julia and Brian for doing this because, it gives me a wonderful opportunity to answer students' questions when it comes to Nexis Uni. But more importantly, they've given me the opportunity to do 4 of these. So I'm very, very thankful. So are we getting anything?
Yeah, no more questions, but
okay.
We really enjoyed this and we thank you so much for
thank you. I really, really appreciate it. So I will see the 2 of you tomorrow at the same time, same bat station, for those of us that remembers Batman, where we'll be talking about statutes.